On today's show, the Miami Heat have lost consecutive games for the first time in more than a month and face a must-win game in Miami tonight. How can the Heat bounce back, and do they need to bench Kyle Lowry and play Duncan Robinson more? We'll tell you how the Heat can retake control of the series on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on all things Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. However you may be tuning in, YouTube, Odyssey, or on your favorite podcast app, thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks.com and use the promo code NBA, or go to your app store and download the app today. It's PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. We've got 5 burning questions to get to today, David. 5 burning questions in regards to a pivotal Game 5, and I don't think I am overstating it when I say that this is the biggest game of the Miami Heat season. It is a crisis point unlike we've seen basically since the sideline quarrel at the end of March, where everything that happens from here on kind of depends on this Game 5. If you lose at home to Philadelphia, now you are at risk of losing this series and having your season coming to an abrupt end. If you win at home, then you're taking care of home court, and you're doing what it is that you set out to do when you went out and earned the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Again, not an overstatement to say that this is a must-win tonight, right?
No, absolutely. I think we mentioned that following the Game 4 loss, that it was imperative for Miami to be able to reestablish control of the series. And the best way of doing that is by going back home, asserting themselves there, finding some semblance of rhythm that they can carry with them when they travel back to Game 6 in Philadelphia. Because if they lose that, the possibility of winning Game 6 in Philadelphia and then having to take on this Sixers team back at home for Game 7, not great. If you lose Game 6, if you win Game 5 and you lose Game 6, at least there's still the Game 7 to fall back on, which is not the position you want to be in when you were up 2-0 in the series, but that's where you find yourself right now.
Yeah, and look, I know that the three-point shooting thing has been a big storyline, but this is a series, regardless of whether or not these things regress to the mean and whatever. Joel Embiid is that good. James Harden is in a rhythm now, and I know that he's probably not going to score 30 every single night, but he's been overall effective. We'll get to all that kind of stuff later on. But the pressing question facing the Heat right now, and this is our first question in our 5 burning questions, do the Heat need to bench Kyle Lowry?
He's on fire!
He's not on fire.
He's not on fire. I don't think they need to bench him. I think we talked about this as well. If he's able to play, and I know that we're at risk of further re-aggravating the injury, which isn't likely to go away just because of Kyle's age. I don't think, and the nature of a hamstring injury, he would need significant amount of time off in order to rehabilitate it fully. That's not likely to happen. The best thing you can do is you can win in 6 in this series, hope for a little bit of a rest before you take on whatever opponent you do next. And that's the best chance you get of being able to give him some extended time to recuperate. Right now, it's just a matter of getting in to get rest in between games, and hopefully, you don't aggravate during a game. But it's clear he doesn't have the same kind of limited burst. Even what burst he has left at this point in his career isn't great, but it's even that was limited to some degree because of the hamstring injury. So I don't think benching him would solve anything, because I think he still provides some solid defense. I think he still provides great leadership, great passing ability. His assist numbers were fine yesterday. It's the shot-making ability that to me is a problem. You just need to cut his minutes. I think you cut those minutes substantially, reintegrate Gabe Vincent a little bit, maybe find some minutes for other players in his team, either more minutes for Victor Oladipo or Tyler Herro, or perhaps even some minutes for Duncan Robinson. Balance that rotation out to a little bit different degree, and I think you'll be just fine getting whatever you can from Kyle Lowry at this point. At least that's my take.
30 minutes from Kyle Lowry last night,
Way too
10
many.
minutes for Gabe Vincent. You might be onto something there. All I know is it wasn't just that he missed all 6 of his 3-pointers and was not effective getting to the basket at all. Like, there was no burst there. There was no first step. There was just nothing there. And I know, and you make a good point that at this age, you can't expect that the way that you used to. But he looked better than that even at 36 years old, right? Like for most of the season. And
Yep.
if he is going to be a non-factor for you on offense and essentially make it 4-on-5 against this Philadelphia defense, then I don't know that you have a choice other than having to bench him. Now, that said, good luck with that. Good luck with that if you're Erik Spoelstra, right? Like
I didn't even mention that, but you're right. I mean, there's no chance of that happening.
And so the Heat will shoot around Tuesday morning, and they will have to look at Kyle Lowry. And Kyle Lowry is going to have to be honest with himself, first and foremost, and this coaching staff and say, hey, look, if I feel the same way I felt going into Sunday night's game, I'm going to take myself out of this thing. And I think there was some awareness on his part after the game on Sunday night. He said, I'm going to see how I feel. Just not in regards to if he can improve his performance. In regard to whether or not he could play at all, we saw him tweak that hamstring in the middle of that game, David. There is an awareness on his part that he is not even close. Like, where would he even be? 55% at this point? And you have to ask yourself,
he was asked, right? He was asked, like, how do you feel? He's like, well, you don't want to play on it. Like, I mean, that's the reality of it.
And yet,
he's fighting his way through it. Yeah, exactly. He's fighting his way through it. And that's something that fans should appreciate. Sorry to keep cutting you off.
No, you're absolutely right, though. Fans should appreciate it. But also, if this were the regular season, you're right. A hamstring injury, it takes like 2 or 3 weeks to come back from something serious like this. And this is obviously not a tweak. This was a serious hamstring issue for him. So I think he needs to be honest with himself. And the question is like 55% Kyle Lowry better than 100% Gabe Vincent, whatever you're getting here? And that is sort of the fundamental question. And I would think, based on Sunday night's performance, the answer would be I would rather have 100% Gabe Vincent, which sounds crazy, but we'll see. I think that if Kyle Lowry plays, he will start. If he doesn't start, he is not playing. I think that's where we're going to probably end up.
He's not coming off the bench. Yeah, that's a really good point too. He's not. He's just ingrained in what the Heat are trying to do. He was acquired. You're paying him a lot of money. And I know that you're willing to bench perhaps Duncan Robinson. I think it's a little different. I think the dynamic is a little different, especially given what Lowry does in other areas. It's kind of what's missing from Duncan's game. So that's not the concern. Like, you can take the fact that Kyle brings these intangibles that are allegedly or supposedly missing from Duncan's game, knowing that the offense can be carried by either Bam or Victor Oladipo, or especially.
Well, and you went out and got Lowry for the playoffs. And so to bench him during the playoffs would not be good. This next question, did Erik Spoelstra cost the Heat games 4 by not playing Duncan Robinson? Of course, we touched on this a little bit after the game on Sunday night, David, but you and I went back, looked at the film, watched the 3-pointers that the Heat took and mostly missed. Pretty clear that I'm at the point I'm not even hedging anymore. I don't care. Duncan Robinson should have played game 4. Certainly should have played at some point between games 3 and 4. I think that was a coaching error by Erik Spoelstra.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because even after we were done recording late last night, I said, you know what, let me go back and watch all these 3-pointers. And you watch every one of them. And I know you broke it down via a tweet stream today, and like basically came to the same conclusion. The shots were there. So many of them were pretty wide open or barely contested that were absolutely makeable shots and just didn't fall for whatever reason. And I'm not sure what it was. And it's not to take away completely from what Philadelphia's defense has been able to do with Joel Embiid back on the lineup. But the reality is that Miami was getting pretty much whatever looks they could possibly get. Looks that they have been able to capitalize on all season and just weren't able to knock them down against Philly in game 4. Maybe Duncan makes that better. To the overall question, that's the tricky part, is that, we're kind of saying that Spo may have cost Miami.
You make that point that the shots were there, and I have some numbers that I want to bring up here just to kind of illustrate how good that these looks were. Wide open looks. Out of the 35 threes that the Heat took last night, wide open looks, according to NBA.com's tracking data, 14 of them were wide open. 20 of them were open. So in total, 34 of Miami's 35 3-pointers were open or wide open, meaning that there's a defender further than 4 to 6 feet away from Miami's shooter. They had one tightly contested shot, and they made that shot. That was the Jimmy Butler one that he just sort of stepped into. That was kind of ridiculous. That's a problem. And when you watch the shots, so many of them, I counted half a dozen missed ones that were just wide open off the dribble handoff with Bam Adebayo. And the way that the Sixers are playing that, with Joel Embiid dropping, which is the Sixers coverage, that is their base scheme, is to drop Joel Embiid in that coverage, you're getting these guys peeling off these screens with nothing but room around them. And it's up to Matisse Thybulle or James Harden or Tyrese Maxey or Danny Green, name your perimeter player, to fight over or under or around or through that screen to contest that shot. And if you do that enough, the way that the Heat do, because they run more dribble handoffs than anybody in the league, if you do that enough, you're going to get wide open looks. The Heat got those wide open looks, and nobody could make them. And you just can't help but think, David, boy, wouldn't it be great if you had the best dribble handoff three-point shooter in the NBA on your team? Oh, wait, we do, but he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah, that's pretty neatly stated there. I got to be honest with you. It's a frustrating point because, to go back to the film there, like Max Strus wide open a number of those shots. And, I know he hit two, but they didn't really count. Tyler Herro, I mean, again, wide open space. There was that time there where he took like a sidestep to kind of get his footing, and he was wide open because he totally faked him, beat up, missed that shot. Like, these are shots he has to hit. That's just the reality. Kyle, again, I know there's the injury there. Wide open looks there. Victor Oladipo, wide open shots from the corner. Even PJ missed a couple that he might normally make. We can't count on like the early season PJ when he was leading the league in 3-point percentage, but still, these are shots that he should be able to make. I mean, when Jimmy Butler, who was criticized for taking 3-pointers for like 90% of the regular season, even though we were advocating for him to do so, is your best 3-point shooter, that's problematic.
And I just can't help but think, right? Like, we've seen Duncan Robinson start games and then get benched at the end of the games because the shot wasn't going in. Right?
Do it.
If this were anybody else, right? I mean, like, Max Strus is not making shots. All right, put Duncan Robinson in. If Gabe Vincent isn't making shots, put Duncan Robinson.
I think he starts.
Is Victor Oladipo? I don't know if he starts. I would have a hard time believing that based on where we're coming from.
I think he starts. I think
over Strus.
Yeah, I think he tries to change some things up there. Just a day of film and kind of going back there. Like, at this point, like, I like what Strus has been able to provide. This isn't to knock Max or anything like that. Like, he's shown incredible improvement as a defender.
He's been better defensively than people give him credit for. Yep.
You go with Duncan for 5 minutes to start the game just to throw their defense off balance a little bit, knowing that he's going to be curling around these screens, that Danny Green's probably going to get into foul trouble trying to chase after him, that either Tobias Harris or somebody else is probably going to pick up a foul too. I think it's worth it. You make that chance. You take that chance and you see what you can get out of it. I think he starts.
I don't disagree with the logic behind it. I just don't think it's going to happen based on Erik Spoelstra's behavior so far.
That's fair. I agree with that. I can see why.
I think we get the same. I think we get the same exact game plan going into this game. Erik Spoelstra will bet on home court advantage, figuring and just law of averages sort of being the solve for the lack of 3-point shooting right now. But I do think this. I do think that he will have a quicker go at Duncan Robinson if it looks like it's going in the direction that
Max misses his first three shots. If Max misses his first 3 shots from the perimeter,
I think once we see James Harden go on the bench for Philly too, I think Spo could be like, you know what, let's throw Duncan Robinson out there for like 3 or 4 minutes while James Harden is getting a break here. But we will take a break here, and coming up next, we will rank the best players in the series so far. But first, David, tell the listeners about our sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy, and easy is really what we're all about. As fantasy props and pick'ems get more popular, PrizePicks is making it easy for you to play. They do that with the best NBA DFS prop game on the market, offering more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds and even steals. And check out the PrizePicks Power Play. Here's how it works. You predict the over-under on any player's fantasy production, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. And it's just you versus the projected fantasy totals. And for a limited time, PrizePicks has an exclusive no-brainer of an offer for all of our listeners. Users get $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. But you have to use the code NBA. That's right. It's an exclusive offer for Locked On fans. Sign today. Use the code NBA for $50 for free if a player in your first PrizePicks entry scores a single point. And you can do it all using the award-winning app on the Apple Store or at Apple App Store or on Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Plus, PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals, so don't hesitate. Check out PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code NBA today, or go to your app store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. And speaking of making things easier, Well, that's what our next partner is all about, because it's a product that I just recently started using and I totally support it. I started taking AG1 because, you know what? I wanted to feel better, but I didn't really have the time that I needed to devote to that pursuit. It's harder with the work and everything else. Everybody's been there at one point or another. The challenge of trying to improve your life, especially from a physical health standpoint, is difficult. But AG1 makes it easy for you. It's a great supplement you can take. It's got a mild tropical taste that you can actually look forward to each morning. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. That special blend of ingredients to support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. It's a lifestyle-friendly option too, whether you eat keto or paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. Tons of people are taking some kind of multivitamin, and it's so important to choose one with the high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. And it's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself, and it's environmentally sustainable too. As well as that, for every purchase, Athletic Greens will donate to organizations helping to get nutritious foods to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the U.S. So right now, if it's time for you to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, then AG1 is a solution for you. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easier, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NBA network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Host Rafael Butler from NBA Draft Junkies and the author of the NBA Big Board newsletter gives fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, player rankings, and of course, big boards. It's free. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Back here with Locked On Heat. Thank you so much for tuning in on YouTube, Odyssey, wherever you get your podcast. We are continuing along with our 5 burning questions in this next one. Rank the best players in the series so far.
He's on fire!
Number
That's
one.
tricky. Yeah, that's tricky.
Number one. I'm going to go with Jimmy
Number one
Butler,
is
number one.
Yeah, that's the only clear one to me. I agree
Really?
with you 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler's the only clear one.
Okay, so we'll start with Jimmy Butler. I'm actually going to go James Harden. I'm going James Harden at number 2. Not overreacting to the game 4 that he had, although in a 4-game sample size, one game can, lift you up the board in such a way. But I thought his playmaking has been really good all series long. He's been instrumental. He's actually had quite a bit of success driving and kicking. I know that the Sixers didn't shoot well in games 1 and 2, just like the Heat didn't shoot well in games 3 and 4. But he was generating good looks, open looks for the Sixers. They talked about that in those 2 games in Miami. And so I think James Harden has been really good, actually, for Philly. Not, vintage James Harden like the way he was in game 4, but still a good player.
It kind of feels like it's weighted a little bit, right? Like weight, not the weighting, but weight as in, the scale. In terms of like his performance in a big win kind of bends things a little bit more in that favor. I actually leaned more towards Tobias Harris being the second best player just because he's been consistently good. Like his numbers didn't pop out in game 4. In game 3, he was solid, but in games 1 and 2, he was really like Philadelphia's only good player aside from Tyrese Maxey. Yeah. They weren't getting any kind of production from Harden. So I kind of had to hold that against him, even though the result obviously were 2 Miami wins. So I have Harris as the number 2 best player on the series so far.
I get it from a numbers standpoint. I'm just not impressed if you're going against like Miami's 3rd best defender and they're kind of just giving you the looks anyway. Like he's made the looks. He deserves credit for their playoff run in general. It's hard to argue. I think we're splitting hairs right now, but when it comes to degree of difficulty, I've just been more impressed with what James Harden has done versus what Tobias Harris has done, but that's fine. I'm going to go Joel Embiid, actually, number 3.
Same.
I just think he's completely changed the series. We've talked so much about it, even with the fractured right eyeball or whatever and a bum thumb and the lingering symptoms of whatever concussion and all these things. His presence in the middle has completely changed this series.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's just a big body there, and it's just changed everything as far as Miami's ability to defend and, of course, even to attack the basket as frequently and effectively as they did during the first 2 games of the series.
I'm going Bam Adebayo as my 4th best player in the series. I think defensively he's been awesome. Offensively, his first 2 games were great. He's been good. He's been one of the best two-way players in the series. So I'll go Bam number 4. I still don't have Tobias Harris.
I've got Bam number 4. I've got Harden
Okay.
number 5.
Okay, I've got Tobias Harris number 5. I've got Tyrese Maxey next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we doing? How far are we going on this scale here?
Until we decide not to anymore.
Tobias Harris. Yeah. Okay. I see. Harden. Yeah. Maxey has been good. The problem is, like, I really hate this exercise. Like, I'm completely thrown off by this question because I'm looking at it now and it's like maybe
where
it's
the
just
Heat players.
Yeah. Not a lot of players stepping up there for Miami. It's been pretty much Jimmy, and that's basically it. Obviously, Kyle didn't play for the first 2 games. That's been a problem. Gabe Vincent has had his spots, but not really all that effectively. Like, it's not.
Maxey
has
outplayed Tyler Herro straight up. He's outplayed Tyler Herro. Maxey right now is shooting 52% from the field. Tyler Herro is shooting 44% overall. He's made a bunch of his threes, outside of the last couple of games. Like the first 2 games, Tyler Herro was awesome, but Tyrese Maxey has just been more efficient. And yeah, again, maybe some of this is degree of difficulty stuff. So I'm kind of going against my own argument here, where Philadelphia is locked in on Tyler Herro in a way that they are doubling and blitzing him off of every ball screen in a way that the Heat are not treating Tyrese Maxey. Straight up, they are not treating Tyrese Maxey with that level of danger in mind. The way that the Sixers seem scared pantsless of Tyler Herro getting open. But still, Tyler Herro needs to be better.
Yeah, it's not great. And Miami's offense has been so, like, we didn't expect this, right? I don't think we expected Jimmy to take over the way he completely has, especially over the last 2 games. Like, we thought that this would be a much more balanced approach from this Heat.
How many more games like that from Butler do you think we can count on?
I don't think we can count on any. I'll have to be 100% honest with you. We keep hearkening back to his finals run, and that was phenomenal. And yet not like he just wasn't able to do
normal.
It for 6 games. Yeah,
you can't ever expect that. Historic for a reason.
And so I don't think that we can continue. Like, I mean, maybe if it comes down to Game 7, just because it's fucking Jimmy Butler, and I think he's not going to let this team just die on the vine like this. Like, if it's Game 7 and they have an opportunity to win this out at home, Jimmy's going to do whatever he can. That's the kind of player he can be. But I wouldn't expect that in Game 5 and 6. Somebody has to step up. Somebody has to step up. I think one more game. Yeah, I
think one more game, because we're either heading towards an elimination situation in Game 6 in Philadelphia or a Game 7 at home. I think we're going to get Jimmy Butler. Now, I don't know if it's going to be 40 points on 18 shots or whatever it was in Game 4, but it will be some sort of superhuman, oh my God, Jimmy Butler is that man kind of game, right? It'll be one of those.
In a series with James Harden and the MVP, or second runner-up MVP, and Joel Embiid, who had Jimmy Butler as the leading scorer in the series so far?
No, exactly. He's been incredible. The fact that Jimmy Butler has been the best player in the series is a rarity. This is not how we thought the series would go, right? We thought it would be the opposite of this, where the Miami's depth would be sort of playing towards their advantage, and Philadelphia would be the top-heavy team here. Not saying Philadelphia hasn't been top-heavy. They have been playing their starters a ton of minutes, including Embiid ever since it came back. No break, like 36 minutes right away. But this exercise shows that the Heat's depth needs to step up, which was not rocket science. That said, if you could give any Heat player a turbo boost, David, who would it be?
He's on fire!
That's a tricky one. I kind of feel like giving it to Kyle, just because we've seen when Kyle is on, like, this is such a much better version of his team. Like,
maybe we could give him like a new leg, a new right leg.
Yeah, like the old TV show, The $6 Million Man. I'm sure I'm dating myself to some degree there. I think that to be able to give Kyle a couple of new hamstrings there, I think that would be great for the series. Because then all of a sudden, like, you've got a player with that experience being able to make those kinds of passes, the fun look aheads. That's
if
great.
You could give Kyle Lowry any Heat player's legs, a Heat player, with keeping in mind that once you take that player's legs, he can't play in the series because he has no legs.
God, what do we got on the bench here? I mean,
I'm going Caleb Martin. Give him Caleb's legs.
Yeah,
Can we give Kyle Lowry Caleb's legs?
Poor Caleb.
Like, what's the $6 million man quote? If we can build it. What is it?
Yeah. We'll build. He'll be faster, stronger, something like that.
Yeah.
We have the technology. Yeah,
we have the technology. That's right. We do have the technology to give Caleb Martin Kyle Lowry's legs. We have that technology. I'm sure somewhere in the bowels of FTX Arena exists that exact technology. I'm giving the turbo boost. I'm giving the turbo boost to Tyler Herro. You need more. You just need more from him. I want to see that first step that we were seeing so much in the regular season, which led him to being Sixth Man of the Year. I want to see those step backs. I want to see the relocation from him. I want to see him passing the ball with more decisiveness and then running off of those passes, relocating, all the things that he did so well during the regular season. That's what I want to see. Tyler Herro, if you're that dude right now, you got to prove it, because this is the playoffs and we have seen you make tough shots, even in this series. But I think we need a little bit more of a turbo boost from Tyler Herro, because if we're not going to get it, if we're not going to attach Caleb Martin's legs to Kyle Lowry's torso, if we're not counting on Jimmy Butler scoring 40 every single night, if Bam has his hands full defensively with Joel Embiid the way that he has, it kind of has to be Tyler Herro, doesn't it? So
if we're talking about taking legs from Caleb, and let's say that doesn't work exactly. Let's say you don't have the technology to make it happen. Can you take Kyle's like spirit / soul and like put it in Tyler? I mean, because that would be like if you give Tyler Kyle's
I don't know if it's spirit soul.
ability,
I think it's his brain. Yeah, the brain. That's what you need.
Yeah, the decision making. How about that? Yeah,
the anticipation, the experience. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take. Okay, so we're gonna take Kyle's brain, put it in Tyler Herro, Caleb's legs, put it on Kyle Lowry. We'll find some brain lying around and just put that in Kyle Lowry's body, and then we'll be fine.
Frankensteinian version of this Heat team. I'm not sure it's very good, but it sounds like fun.
Sort of a metaphor for the entire regular season in general. But Joel Embiid, like you said earlier, did not win MVP. In fact, Nikola Jokic, it's been reported by ESPN, has been informed that he has been named the winner of MVP for back-to-back seasons for Nikola Jokic. We'll talk about what that means for this series coming up next. But first, David, tell the listeners about our sponsors.
Well, our partners over at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. NFL futures, I imagine that's what it is. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
According to BetOnline, the Golden State Warriors are now 2-1 favorites to win the championship.
Wow.
The Milwaukee Bucks now have better odds than the Celtics, after the Celtics just had better odds than the Bucks. The Suns, who were the favorites, have dropped after these losses to Dallas. All of this just reflects how close things are in the NBA right now. It is, remove yourself from the fact that if you're a Heat fan and these last two games just totally sucked.
Yep.
This has been an awesome playoff so far. So tightly contested. I have no idea who's going to win. I'm still putting my money on Phoenix on BetOnline. I got a little taste of the BetOnline action before Florida shut down the sports gambling rules. So we'll see. Is Nikola Jokic winning MVP over Joel Embiid trouble for the Heat? This is our next question, David.
Well, I've got two things I want to say before I get into the answer specifically for this question. One, I came to the realization today, maybe it was just me coming to acceptance with the last couple of games or anything else like that, but when you think about it, like even now as I'm in the midst of covering all of the NBA and everything else, like Miami is one of the 8 last teams remaining. Like maybe that doesn't sound like much, but that's pretty damn good company. Like I realize that there's 4 teams left in the Eastern Conference, 4 teams left in the West, and Miami's among them. Like for all the teams besmirching everything that Miami have done, or kind of looking at the fact that they were able to beat up on a weak Hawks team, or just be able to win 2 games against an Embiidless Sixers team, they're the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They've been a fantastic team during the regular season, and they continue to be, again, one of the 8 remaining teams in the NBA right now, still competing in the playoffs. I think that's pretty impressive. So that's one. 2, like you mentioned the tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN confirming, or at least reporting, that it seems like Nikola Jokic will win the MVP. What if he's wrong? What if Woj just completely screws a pooch on this? And then somehow
is that even possible?
I don't know where the sources are coming from. Like who's saying, oh no, it's gonna be.
It's the NBA telling Adrian Wojnarowski this is happening.
Who else? Who's tallying these scores? Like who's tallying these votes? Like I mean, somebody's got a big mouth somewhere in the league front office. It's like no, it's Joker, and in fact, it's really going to be Embiid or somebody else. But that would be hilarious. To the answer of your question, no, I don't think it matters. I think Like, you compete as long as you do to win all the games that you do as far as Embiid is concerned. You're in the middle of the series trying to get one more game. You want the hardware. We know he likes the recognition, as do
Yes.
almost any NBA player. Having said that, I don't think it's going to drive him anymore. Like, I don't
I
think it's
disagree with
mattered
you.
over the last. You
I
think he's
think
going
he's
to
going to
be
be.
extra
I
pissed
think
off?
yes. I think he's going to be PO'd. He made it very clear that he wanted to win MVP. Joel
Good.
Embiid did. He said so much as, I don't know what else I have to do, and so he's going to come out and be like, you know what, my team's in the playoffs. Jokic team, his team has been eliminated for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Why am I not the MVP? Let me show you why I'm the MVP. I do think that, and we have not gotten the big Joel Embiid dominant performance, even though he's been arguably the second or third best player in this series, or third or fourth best player in the series, according to our rankings. We still haven't gotten that game from Joel Embiid. I don't know that we can get that game, considering that he, talking about switching body parts around, he could sure use a few. But I really wish that this news came out last round or next round and not this one. I don't love it. I don't love the timing of
I,
this. I do
look.
think
I
we're going
know.
to get a little bit more motivation from Embiid.
I've said this before. I know that NBA players thrive on these kind of perceived slights. They need it in order to carry them through. But hell, if you need that to push yourself to reach another level, I mean, that's just absolute weak sauce to me. Like, I can't believe it. I don't know. We'll see. And you know what? The flip side of that is, if we do get that more aggressive version, especially when they're coming back to Miami, he's going to foul out early on. He's going to be so aggressive looking for his shot that he's going to get into foul trouble early on. That's my prediction.
Last question here. Possible Game 5 adjustments. What can Erik Spoelstra do?
He's on fire!
Aside from start Duncan Robinson, I'm not sure.
I've got
Work
one.
whatever Frankensteinian science slash medicine.
Get
we're
Andy
trying to
Ellisberg
apply.
on it.
Yeah.
I would like to see them attack Tyrese Maxey and James Harden a little bit more. When they're on defense, the Heat have gotten opportunities to where the Sixers are willingly switching Harden and Maxey onto whoever, Jimmy Butler, Lowry, Herro, whoever it is. I would like to see them attack that in isolation a little bit more than they have. It's not a huge adjustment, right? It's not start somebody else, completely change the rotations. I actually think that I would like to see a little bit less of, even, if you have to, I think the Heat's biggest problem is that their best players are not their best 3-point shooters. So, but if you have to bench somebody, maybe it's taking a few minutes from Kyle Lowry or Victor Oladipo or whoever, getting Duncan Robinson some minutes early on and seeing if you can light up the scoreboard a little bit with some threes. But I also would just, like, schematically, like, attack these guys. Like, the Sixers have taken control of the series, not just because they've won 2 straight games, but because it's now being played on their terms. And the Heat are reacting to what they are doing. And I think the Heat need to regain control by winning, obviously. But part of that, too, is putting the Sixers on the ropes a little bit, forcing Doc Rivers to make some adjustments, which he just hasn't really had to do that since Embiid has gone back.
That's fair. I think they did that in Game 4, like particularly Maxey. They seemed like they were attacking him early on, and even Harden. And that's the counter to that possibility, is that, again, maybe I'm making too much out of it, but the fact that he was in early foul trouble and wound up playing less minutes in the first half than he normally would, that's possibly why he had that extra burst. Like, look, the conditioning has always been a problem for Harden, mostly because he's been carrying teams that he's been on, especially when he was at MVP level scorer, etc. While that hasn't been the case in Philadelphia, he certainly still hasn't looked like he's a well-conditioned athlete or anything like that. He's obviously playing at a high level. Having said that, he looked like he had extra energy in the fourth quarter there when he had that monstrous shooting performance. I'd rather have him, if he's going to shoot that way, I'd rather him shoot that way in the first half and then be a complete non-factor in the second half, because then that means that Miami's done their jobs and being able to limit what he can do and has effectively shut him down. So I don't know. I mean, I'd like them to be aggressive and attacking Harden, but I also don't want him to have that extra energy when he comes in and plays in the second half.
Speaking of foul trouble, one last note here. I don't know that the PJ Tucker at the 5 lineup works in this matchup against Joel Embiid. Theoretically, yeah, you would love to space Embiid out to the 3-point line, get him out of the paint. But PJ Tucker picked up all of his fouls. He had 5 fouls going in that fourth quarter, was not available at the end of that game. Yeah, but I mean, that's what you're going to do when he's got to front Joel Embiid and he's got to get tangled up in that mess. He's going to get fouls called on him. I'm with you. I thought some of them were really ticky-tack. Maybe the whistle's different in Miami, but I don't know that lineup was even so effective that you even risk it. maybe play Markieff Morris at the 5 a little bit. We saw a little bit of that in game 4. Obviously, Dwayne Dedmon wasn't available. He gives them not just a little bit of a taste of three-point shooting, right? He can make the shot, but teams aren't necessarily respecting him as a three-point shooter. They're mostly letting him take those shots. But he gives you a little bit of that. If he's back from like these cold, like, symptoms or whatever it was, then obviously I think you would not see Tucker at the 5. To me, that was more of a level of desperation. You wonder if maybe Spo could have went to Omer Yurtseven in those spots a little bit more to save PJ Tucker from foul trouble, but I understand not wanting to play Yurt in those big, playoff type moments. You might not be ready for something like that, but less of Tucker at the 5, especially if Dwayne Dedmon is available. And just a shout out to
still listed as questionable, by the way. Officially tweeting.
And then one last thing with Victor Oladipo. I know we all love the Victor Oladipo story. I've written about the Victor Oladipo story. I'm all about the Victor Oladipo story. This is not hating Victor Oladipo, all right? But if he's going to play the way he did in Game 4, I don't know that he is a positive impact on this group right now.
I'm glad you brought that up because we were accused, allegedly by a Heat fan, of like hating on Victor Oladipo. I don't think we said anything in our recap that was even remotely close to hating on Victor Oladipo, other than saying his shot wasn't there, which I think is absolutely 100% correct.
I mean, he wasn't making them. But he was freelancing just too much, and that's the thing. And this is what sort of got the Heat into trouble during the 4-game losing streak when they were trying to work him back in. And then when they revamped their rotations, they were like, sorry, we just don't have room for you right now. Is a little bit too much of the freelancing stuff. At times, it looks great. At times, it looks like scoring 40 against Orlando Magic or those big games against Atlanta Hawks in round 1. But other times, it looks like it did last night, which was just sort of stalling the offense, getting bad shots, and wasting possessions in a playoff series where you can't waste possessions right now. And so Oladipo either needs to check that and be like, you know what? I'm either going to shoot, drive, or pass, and I'm not going to dribble around like I'm Jimmy Butler right now, because that's Jimmy Butler's job on this team. And it's unfortunate because I do think Oladipo can do it. I just don't know that this series and this group right now needs that right now from him. And so it's a tough balance, but it's something that he's going to have to strike. I think that the Heat in film today and tomorrow, whenever, should point that out. Hey, you should have probably swung the ball here instead of doing whatever it is, freelancing stuff that you were doing. Just be a little bit better as a decision maker. That's all. Or bench him for Duncan Robinson. I don't know, but I just thought the decision making needed to be better on his part. So that's all. Not hating.
Benching him seems a little extreme.
Yeah, I don't think they need to bench him. I just think his decision making needs to be better. That's all. Just something that we're pointing out in the film.
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, the Heat fans are kind of just saying, well, he was aggressive. He was attacking the basket. He's getting to the line. That's all fine. But at the same time, you bring up a good point about just pounding the ball too much. Like, I mean, it's just, it slows things down right now when you need to speed things up and you need to be able to swing the ball. Like Jimmy, to his credit, even after his monstrous game 3 performance, said, I got the shots I needed to tonight, but I need to move the ball around. That's just who we
said
are.
It twice, 2 games in a row. He said it after game 4. I'd like to pass a little bit more.
I know. This is kind of like the knock on Bam when he says he needs to be aggressive. At some point, you just got to say, well, what are you waiting for, dude? Get to it. If you need to swing the ball around more, I know Philadelphia's defense has made that a little bit more challenging, but he does need to look to pass off, get other guys going. I would not be surprised if we saw that version of Jimmy through the first half tomorrow, where he's just actively going to everybody else to get them going, because that's what makes his team more effective. Yeah. Knowing also that, Jimmy can just turn it on whenever the hell he wants to, and he can take over a game in the second half, just like he did in game 4.
All right, well, we'll see what happens tonight in game 5 in Miami. A pivotal game 5. I'm really excited about it, David. We will have coverage for you, of course, after the game with everything that happened. But this is it for our episode of Locked On Heat. Remember to like and subscribe Locked On Heat on YouTube or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Comment and leave a 5-star rating. Reach us on Twitter at Locked On Heat. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes throughout the playoffs. It's free. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining me, David.
You got it, Wes.